You might think that Airheart is a game about just flying, and you would be partially correct. The other part is that you're a fly fisherwoman. Hang with me for a second. It's what's happening in this game. You're piloting an airplane and fishing at the same time. Literally fly fishing. Okay, I bet that joke was used more than once. But it's a really weird combination for this twin stick shooter. Airheart starts you with almost nothing. There's a slight intro cutscene to set up some story, and then you're dropped right into the world. You have your plane, and that's just about it. After a short tutorial, you get your license, and you're allowed to start your mission to catch a whale in the upper atmosphere. There's not much to help you out, and the game leaves a lot unexplained. For the most part, it's great because you get to explore and figure out everything for yourself. Exploration is a big part of the gameplay. Yet, a Fishipedia would have been nice. To see some information on the fish you caught, to anticipate what fish might come, or just generally learning about the world. From your home base, there's your hangar, a workshop, and a shop. The workshop is for building new parts from components. The components are dropped by destroyed enemies or just found in the world. The shop is where you'll find new weapons and parts to upgrade your plane. It's really cool. You can mix and match any pieces you want. Airheart lets you equip a different propeller, body, and wings from whichever ones you own. No limitations. It's up to you to decide which upgrades are important, as they're all really expensive. The hangar is, as you would expect, a place to set which parts and weapons you want before heading out. The plane you start with is very basic, but gets the job done, at least for the first few sky layers of the atmosphere where pirates don't hang out so much. The starting gun will only take you so far though. Initially, you'll have to focus on catching fish for income. Fishing is simple. For the small fish, you need to just fly right into them. It's a little odd they don't get caught in the propeller and make a mess, but let's just go with it. The atmosphere is broken up into different sky layers, and each layer has a fish population. Fishing too much on one layer will, of course, overfish it. The game really wants you to fish on different layers to keep the overfishing to a minimum. There doesn't seem to be any protection against it though, and they rely on the honor system. To get to these sky layers, you have to find an elevator which shoots you straight up to the next one. It's weird, they know planes can fly up and down, right? I just go fly up to the next level. Whatever. Even though each sky layer always has the same layout, I forget where the elevators are. I spend a lot more time on each level than I want. There's no indication where the elevators are. Even if you found the elevator 100 times before, when you return home for your free repair, you have to start over from the first sky layer every time. It becomes a chore to constantly search for the elevator every run. It gets worse the higher up you go, obviously, like when you're trying to reach level 9. So much of my time is wasted searching for this elevator. The sky is packed with enemies anyway, so even if I did know where the elevator was, it wouldn't make it any easier to get there. So the sky layers are grouped into seasons through the stratosphere, the first being spring, then autumn, then winter, etc. They all have a unique look to them, which I like. The colorful clouds are a fantastic choice. It's also great you can see the lower layers under you. It provides an interesting backdrop. I mean, you can even see planes fly back home after they get damaged. At the end of the season, there's a boss blocking the elevator. The bosses are challenging, especially with everything else going on the screen. You can take as much time as you want to clear out the other riffraff before facing the boss. You'll never clear it all out, but just getting the static towers out of the way will help a lot. The second boss in particular is very well designed and is so much fun to fight against. Very difficult, but when I defeated it, it felt great. Anyway, the flying is okay. It took some time to get used to. I don't even know if it can be called flying since there's no change in elevation. It operates in a 2D plane with your airplane constantly moving forward. It's smooth, but with the perspective, I really had to get a feel for it before I was comfortable. When flying back home, the perspective shifts, and then you need to dodge all the islands on the way back. It's a neat feature that makes it even riskier to stay up in the air on low health. It's terrifying to fly back on one hit point. Where the movement is really a problem is when you hit a rock or another plane. For some reason, it's extremely bouncy, and you'll probably hit multiple times before you get your plane under control. It's like bumper cars, but you can't figure out which way you should turn to fix it. I think Airheart reverses the direction after a bounce to help you, but it makes it extremely difficult until you figure out what's going on. Obviously, the best way to not get in this situation is to just not run into anything at all. However, with all the other planes flying around, it's just about impossible. It might be best to take the plane that doesn't incur collision damage. Luckily, the twin stick shooting mechanic is better. Initially, the plane is equipped with a Harpoon Gun and one normal single shot gun. Yeah, you heard me right. A frickin' Harpoon Gun. It can be used in very interesting ways, but the best part is that it attaches to everything. Shoot a wall, now you're stuck to it. Shoot a fish, now it's dragging behind you and you can reel it in. You can even take the fish all the way back to your house on the harpoon. It also attaches to other planes, towers, and some of their parts. For example, you can pull weapons and armor off enemies. If you get the guns off a tower, you can ignore it. Removing the armor from planes is pretty much a requirement later on and allows your weapons to do a lot more damage. The weapons are straightforward. Typical stuff, you know, like a shotgun, a sniper, some missiles, and a flamethrower. You need to find the one that suits your playstyle. I tried the shotgun, not for me. The minigun though, that's where it's at. It's fantastic. It does a low amount of damage, but spits out so many bullets at a time. I'm thinking it might actually need to be fixed, because you can pretty much pray and spray an entire area from a good distance. Look, now that I covered all the typical gameplay, I want to let you in on my real thoughts. I'm not sure Airheart is a fishing game at all. Yeah, you can collect fish, but it's not the most lucrative pastime. Being a pirate is. Seriously, it's so much more profitable to attack friendly units and collect oil barrels. First, oil barrels don't move, so they're easy to pick up. And second, you get a lot more of them in a centralized location. The fish swim around and can be kind of annoying to catch. If you can destroy a big, friendly airship early, it can give you a huge boost in funds. There's a small police force, but they're quite meek. You can evade them effortlessly by switching sky layers. The police weapons are really easy to dodge, and if you wait them out, they'll just leave your sky layer anyway. Either this is the correct way to play, or the police need to be improved. Airheart needs a wanted system so the police can correctly escalate as you become more of a pirate. The problem is, while trying to attack enemies, you will hit friendlies that are flying around. If you hit them too much, the police show up for that too, and you wouldn't want to punish the player too much for an accident. However, when the player goes on a crime spree, they need to be punished. Did they not expect people to go full pirate? Even with all the ways Airheart interests me, it still has a few faults. The biggest one is the crafting. The whole system relies on you guessing the order of the materials. I don't think this adds anything to the game. You get a recipe for the final product if you purchase it from the store, but going through all the iterations to get the components is boring. I don't expect anyone to try everything randomly to get an unexpected weapon. You really need the blueprint. The entire crafting UI is clunky and doesn't make it easy either. I believe it's in place to help ease the burden of replacement parts after you crash, yet I would always prefer to be flying than in a menu. Airheart is also extremely difficult. When you get to later sky layers, they're filled with pirates. There's so much to either run into or get shot by. The punishment for death is crash landing back to your home base, where on impact, you can lose your precious parts. It's disheartening to get going, and then one failure forces you to restart the game fully. Very quickly, you can go from having a brand new part to losing it in a crash. It happened to me. Bought some wings, and next run crashed. Lost it all. 870 gold right down the drain. It took so long to get that money. It's best to avoid crashing at all costs, since returning home is a complete heal. Although, who wants to go through all those sky layers again? It just takes too long to get your first plane piece to have it ripped away so quickly. As I mentioned before, Airheart doesn't explain anything to you, even for simple mechanics that it probably should. For example, the summoning plane passive. What does it summon? How often does it activate? What does it do? Another big one are the stars when entering a sky layer. Are those secrets? I don't know. While the majority of the unknown helps the game, these simple aspects should be explained. Overall, Airheart is a good time as long as you don't die and lose all your parts. The plane handles okay, but there's always a ton of action around the corner. Although it does get a little repetitive flying through those sky layers over and over, the challenge made me want to keep playing. Becoming a pirate was fun. It was a whole world against me. If they can explain a little more to the player and show me the elevators, it would be so much better. That said, I like Airheart and had a lot of fun playing it, but I struggle recommending it unconditionally. If you can handle losing everything and have time to get into the game, then it's probably for you. Thanks for watching.